Okay, so video update. It turns out that a while ago, a couple years ago, I think on my birthday, my son Joshua bought me a camera, like a GoPro, and my daughter Shailene, she bought me all the attachments you could ever want for this said camera. So it could go underwater. I could wear it on my head. I can attach it to, I don't know, anything. I could attach it to that TV over there for all I care. Anyway, I put it in my car so I'd remember to bring it with me to Mississippi because I was always driving to Mississippi. Well, in the meantime, I had determined that I would never drive to Mississippi again. I would save up the money and fly. And so I flew to Mississippi and did not bring the camera or all the attachment articles with me. So now I'm filming with my phone. My phone is my camera. And so what has happened is I noticed that just prior to starting a video, I can change the orientation of the camera. I can make it face away from me or face toward me, whatever. But once I start a video, it's stuck in that position, so I can't change it at that time. So it's kind of annoying. Also, I can't really videotape myself doing things because I can't, wear my phone on my head or something like I could do with that GoPro-like camera. But I thought I'd give you an update since I've been working on my shifter linkage, and I'd let you know what happened there. So here is my shifting cable. I've put it between the engine and this thing. That way it comes in a nice smooth curve to go nicely to the shifter. And now the shifter can shift nicely from neutral, forward, and reverse. I had some trouble with this plate of mine. First off, you can see it's bolted in here. The transmission is fairly symmetrical, so that would be symmetrical with these two holes here. These are actually intended for a motor mount. So my motor has 4 motor mounts, one up front, one in the back, and then on the opposite side is the same. So I don't need to use these as motor mounts, so I took off the motor mounts. Well, this one never came with it. So anyway, so I had the bolts for this particular these holes. I stole them from Jerry, as a matter of fact. And so these are the bolts that go in the holes. However, they're used to holding on a motor mount. So maybe that motor mount fills up quite a bit of these threads and they only go in maybe an inch. So I tried to use these, but I don't have that motor mount. All I have is that thin plate. And so I screw it in to about here and then it stops. And so that's no good. So I had to find smaller bolts. So I went to Lowe's and they have a great selection of stainless steel screws and bolts and fasteners, we'll call it. And I looked for stainless steel bolts that were this exact same size. Well, this is a 7/16 bolt with a thread count of 14. And so the 7/16 is this measurement for the circle, and the thread count is a 14. And I found that out by sticking it in one of the holes they have there for you to be able to tell what your bolt is. So I look all over Lowe's, and here's a bin full of 3/8. Well, 3/8 is 6/16 if you're not very good at fractions. And then here, right next to it, is a bolt of 1/2. And 1/2, of course, is 8/16. So they go from 6/16, 3/8, to 8/16, 1/2. And they just pass right by the 7/16 bolts. So they didn't have any 7/16 stainless steel bolts. So I purchased bolts that were not stainless steel, that were 1 inch long, and I mounted my little linkage plate right there. Then once it was mounted, I put my shifting cable in place. I drilled that top hole. I marked the bottom hole, pulled it all out again, drilled the bottom hole, then put it all back in again, and secured the shifting cable in place right where you see it. Well, actually, I then tried the engine and the transmission, and I didn't feel that shifting into forward was getting all the way into the little ball hole there. Well, it would be the one in the back there, actually, as it shifts forward. So I shifted it into forward, reset all this, I loosened all that, and then once it was in forward, I tightened it all back down and shifted neutral, reverse. Everything looked really good at that point. So I started the engine, I put it in gear, and only in reverse would it start spinning my propeller. And forward it would not spin. And so I thought I'd fix that by changing where this was sitting and making sure that the ball went into the hole. But evidently I had not. So I was out of ideas, so I checked the fluid back there with that little dipstick there. And there was no fluid showing up, so I poured the rest of my transmission fluid that I had into the reservoir, and it showed up on the stick. And then my friend Steve yesterday came by, and we tried it all over again. And sure indeed enough, it started spinning both forwards and backwards. So a great success there. Oh, I just kicked over my flashlight, and anything that falls near here usually goes all the way down to the bottom, and then you have to fish it out. So I was lucky then. And speaking of fishing, I want to show you something that I call diaper fishing. So if you don't know this about boats, you have this bilge, and anything goes down into the bilge. Everything goes down into the bilge, and that's what you have to be careful about. If you knock something over like your flashlight, it's going to go down to the bilge. So working on the transmission, of course, there's extra fluid. Changing the oil, there's extra oil, and you cannot pump any of that out into the open waterways. It's not only is it restricted, but it would be not a very good human thing to do anyway. You should just know better than to pump that stuff out of your bilge into the waterways. So the trouble then becomes, how do you collect that stuff out of your bilge so that you can pump your bilge clean? Well, there's lots of different products that you can use to try to get that stuff out. As a matter of fact, some of the marine stores sell a big old thing, and you shove it down there, and it's supposed to soak up only the oils and the greases and everything and leave the water behind. And I don't know how much those cost, but they cost something, I'm sure. And so I looked up if a diaper would work, and it turns out diapers do work. And so I do what I call diaper fishing. There's some of my full diapers right there. And what I do is I take a little baby diaper. These are size 1, and so there's 48 of them. I prepare the little baby diaper by turning it inside out. So there we go. And then I collect the part that the tabs are into a little bind right there. And then I have a string with a loop in it. And let's see if I can do this. Okay, I'm going to now become cameraman with my foot. All right, come on, foot. Come on, foot. Alright, so I can take the string around the gathered tabs part, and then I pull the noose tight around it. There is a rather large knot here where the loop begins, so I try to make sure that I get around that knot. This helps me ensure that I don't deposit the diaper down into the bottom there and not get the diaper back. I did buy a grabbing tool that reaches down and grabs it, because I did lose one. Then I find a path down into the part of the bilge that I want to soak up, and so this path is right there. The string lets it go to the bottom, and then I just play the string up and down. You can hear it sloshing down there in the bottom of that bilge. The whole time it's getting heavier and heavier, soaking up all of that gunk. So I like to get it a pretty good sloshing, and then just let it sit there, because the longer it sits there, the more it's going to soak up. If any of you have had babies, you know that they can hold a lot, these diapers. And so once I feel that it's sufficiently heavy, I bring in the string and I lift my catch over into the bucket. You can see how effective that is. It turned black. It's completely engorged with fluid. And so now I drop it in the bucket and go for another diaper. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video. You'll see next time.